So I'm reading this book that my friend recommended. He's getting all Buddhist on my ass. It's called The Joy of Living, I think. And I'm very into the thing, but it's already giving me things to think about. This is risky. And one of the things it's talking about is the actual physical structure of the brain. And you know, it's coming from a non-scientist, right? It's coming from this Buddhist guy who's well, I can't say much about him, I don't know, but the dude is very interested in science and Western medicine, and has educated himself by meeting people and talking to people and learning about all these things and how it relates to meditation and Buddhism. Yeah, you're not looking. So I'm barely into this book. He's talking about some structures in the book. Oh God, I'm gonna burp up my cereal. And so talking about the brain, how many times am I gonna say this? And things like the reptilian brain and other parts of your brain that deal with emotions and critical thinking and that sort of stuff. The main one being the reptilian brain, handling your automatic responses, your fight or flight stuff, and how you learn, you feed into these patterns. So his example was, I don't know if this is, let's just leave it as an example. It doesn't say anything about him, but he's talking about being afraid of dogs and spending time with his friend who has a dog, which eventually the dog gets used to him and actually is friendly with him. And so he decides through experience, actually retraining his brain, that dogs aren't something that need to be universally feared. And his irrational fears can be retrained. But that was initially built up in the automatic response parts of his brains. His brains. And I started to think about that in terms of my own fears, because I have my own irrational fears that I need to work through. Oh shit. Well, this is me right here. Fucking chippers. So I saw another bike, so I'm hesitant to jump over in the next lane so quickly. I think I'm clear. Anyway, so I've got an irrational fear of the dentist. Like, my heart rate goes up just thinking about it. I need to go really badly, which is very understated. But I freak out. And that was brought on by a traumatic event in my teenage years at the dentist that was allowed to grow. and I built it up in my head so bad that now my response, my automatic response, is on overdrive. It's way overinflated. My body treats it like I need to get the fuck out of here. I can't deal with this. And I need to retrain my brain. And sort of understanding it in that way, understanding that by reinforcing the negative, you're making it worse. So you need to reinforce the opposite. So continuing on my reading in the book, The Joy of Living, this concept of mind, trying to observe the mind and identify the mind, and it's a common perception. I mean, when you say mind, every person understands what that means to some extent, because it's something we experience, constantly. You're aware that you exist, and that awareness is usually about the thoughts that you're having, and the thing that is having the thoughts, right? Your mind. But in a scientific, physical, objective sense, you've got a physical body, you've got a brain and nervous system that links all your body parts to your brain, and all these automatic responses, and it's complicated. I'm not pretending to understand it, but what I do understand conceptually is that the brain is a memory processing machine. I should say it has memory and it does processing. And things you learn get stored, and other automatic processes that your body needs to function happen all automatically, and all this stuff is there through evolution. I mean, that's how the system was able to get so complex, as it evolved as it was needed. What I'm driving at is that the physical body, the form, the brain, it functioning as it does, is really a mechanical thing. And then it turns out that the person that is attached, or that is that body, having all these sensory experiences and thoughts, becomes aware that they're having these thoughts. And all of that can happen inside this mechanical way of thinking about the brain and body, like I was sort of trying to illustrate. But that perception and the location of the eyes, I really think that's probably a lot of it, why you feel like you're inside your head, is because your eyes are the windows, and they're located at the top of your body, right? So what you see, you put behind it, and then anyway, I'm getting off on tangents. But so the way I understand the body is a mechanical system, and as a result, the person having the thoughts feels like there's something else. But it's just a matter of being able to feel and respond to stimulus on your senses, and thoughts and all that. And you see where I'm going here. very much atheist and scientific. You know, I went to school for physics. I studied philosophy, right? I have a certain appreciation for how complex things can get in nature, and how there's not that much of a mystery. I mean, there are mysteries, but a lot of these things are well understood, and to go off on another direction is even more absurd. And so the understanding of mind, the way that I'm comfortable with it, is based on my experiences in my education. And so this book, The Joy of Living, right, is trying to talk about how mind is existent. Everybody has a mind, and that what you're trying to do is, in meditation, is find that I may have to break it up like the book does if I can even do that. But basically, I guess one of the metaphors they had was like the crisp, clear water can be muddied up by dirt and everything else. And in this case, the water would be the mind, and the dirt would be all the different thoughts that you're having and things that you're worried about and all the stuff you're trapped thinking about. But in meditation, you're trying not to think, and don't take my word for that. I'm not far enough in my reading or understanding to know what the goal of meditation is, but I think it's about finding the water part of your mind, the clarity without the murky worries and thoughts. And the idea is that there's supposed to be a mind, a background, I don't know how you want to describe it. There's a pure mind, and then there's the mind trapped on thoughts and worries and sadness and pain. And in some sense, I understand that. If you can let your mind release the things that you're thinking about and worried about, then you'll feel much more at ease, and that's a good thing, and that's part of the meditation. But to separate those thoughts from your mind as if the mind is something separate from the body, I think that's where it's getting me. Because my mind, without all the worries and the shitty thoughts and the stress, does things a certain way that other people's doesn't. And that's why I started life as a much shyer person. And my mind is built a certain way, and that's why I was able to study physics and mathematics, because it processes in a certain way that, you know, other people can't study physics and mathematics. They are not equipped to do it. And so, you know, what I'm trying to drive at is I can't separate the mind from the body so much. I don't think there is a mind. I think there's a perception of the mind. And that the mind is able to do the things it does because of how it's physically formed. And that makes it a little more difficult to find that pure mind. Because what is the pure mind in the context of the physical mind actually well, let's just stop there. In the context of the physical mind. Because then, I mean, they talk about the same thing, like, animals may have the same motivations that people do to avoid suffering and be happy. And the book gives an example of a bunch of ants that are out there endlessly working. And we have the same thing in common with them, which is trying to get away from suffering and feel happy. But the ant, does it have a mind? In this, the way I describe it, a physical only, and the mind is a perception, then I would say, to some extent, probably. But is it capable of meditating to find pure mind? And I don't know. You see what I'm driving at. My physical brain and body are much, much different than the ant's physical brain and body. And is one capable of knowing of its own thoughts, which becomes the mind? And if one is not, then one can't find pure mind, right? And does that mean a human, every human, I don't know where I'm going with this. It gets complex, right? Because you're juggling awareness and this sort of common background hum, which is your mind, your thinking, with the idea that you are just a physical machine that lives, grows, ages, decays. What's valuable, however, though, is this meditation part, getting away from your thoughts and your worries and separating your physical and mental struggles in order to free your mind. Hard to think about that well. Trying to fucking split lanes. F-bombs are very Buddhist of me.